This episode of the Rabid Hedgehog Motovlog is brought to you by The Store. Yes, Rabid Hedgehog's Teespring store. Check it out, buy gear, support the channel. Like, subscribe, comment below.
What's up, everybody? This is the Rabid Hedgehog, and I'm here at the House of Kawasaki on 10th and Council in Oklahoma City, and today they're having a miniature ride event, so I'm not going to have too much time with each bike, but today I'm going to take out the Ninja 400, brand new bike that replaces the Ninja 300. I had a Ninja 300, as many of you know, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, and I just want to try out the new 400 and see how much different it really was. It's a great looking motorcycle. I like how it looks much bigger than it is. You can tell it's a little quiet. It is running right now. Love that new LED front end. That just looks pretty slick. Nice wide mirrors and everything. Doesn't sit very aggressively. I actually was on it a moment ago, so I already know a little bit about how it sits. Now, what I do like is this brand new dash panel over the 300s. That's a nice thing. You do have a gear indication now, and you have quite a bit of other things going on. Of course, you have your standard start stop switch kill switch, start switch, horn. Then you have your turn signals, your bright selection, and your flash to pass. On the dashboard, you do have some toggle switches here that will do your range and fuel, miles per gallon average, and then your miles per gallon live, and all that good stuff right there with odometers and everything like that, and of course a reset button. You still have your analog style tachometer, and then you have your digital style speedometer. Go ahead and get this out on the road. I think it's actually more comfortable, to be honest, than the 300. At least the seat is. So first thing I noticed when I was on a 300, it was kind of a rocky seat. This one's not so bad. Okay, and also in your indications, I know there's a lot of panels there, but there's not really much when you look in there and you can see the light. You have your neutral indication, your check engine, and then you have your turn signal. I actually don't see anything else there. The mirrors are nice, wide, and visible. Pedal box is nicely sized for somebody whose feet are so freaking massive. Feels good to use. This is just quick off the bat. I can already tell it's just a much better motorcycle than the old 300. Of course, bigger, powerful, more powerful, right? And I'll put detailed specifications down in the details below. That way I don't sit here and speculate. I'll go ahead and get the actual amounts for you. Right now our winds are about 31, 40 miles an hour today, somewhere in there. And I'm broadside to the wind right now, and it still slices through pretty nice. You see me getting pushed every once in a while to the right, but not too bad. The clutch on this motorcycle is super lightweight. Like, really, really, really lightweight. You could use just a finger to operate it. And it's really a great clutch. It's still cable operated. And the transmission is shifting very precisely as well. Not notchy at all. Now, on some of these more terrible bumps, it definitely, you can get that feeling that you're on a sport bike again. The suspension is kind of tight, but it is not as loosely or as unsprung as the 300. It is more of a tightly suspended bike. So that's good news, because that'll stiffen up the chassis for turning, make it a little bit better for you guys. See that wind coming through right there? Yeah, wind. Oklahoma wind. Get used to it and you get to love it. Alrighty. This thing's got great lean angle. Great turning ability. Nice, tight chassis. As I stated, it just works very, very well. Wow. This bike is actually not as buzzy as its old 300 counterpart too. There's definitely some vibes coming in. Right now I'm at about 6,000 RPM, so I'm just entering its power band. And there's a little bit of vibration that I can feel throughout the bike and the feet and the hands, but it's nowhere near what it was doing on the 300 that I owned for a while. Put about, I think it was 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it. I don't know why this thing just feels so tame, but at the same time feels so ready to just go crazy. And the shifting on this bike is so precise, just so well engineered. Definitely happier above 6,000 RPMs in its power band. The vibes are less too at that point, so it's kind of interesting. It gets a little bit less as you spin it up a little bit more. That was a big bug. Man, this thing is just a great turning bike. Now you do get a more sport bike riding position than you do a standard bike. As you can see, the arms are down quite a bit and you are on your wrist quite a bit. You're not flat and level unless you stand up a little bit like this. Of course, you're catching too much wind, so you do want to be tucked in more. However, your legs are not as tucked in as they are on, say, like an R6 or a 636R. So it's more comfortable to ride like this on this bike because it's just so well done here. And you do have your feet toward the back, as you can see. This bike is just so easy to get moving around. I mean, just one hand, very stable, very well balanced. Engine braking out of the parallel twin is actually rather good. Catching that wind again now. We have no block at all because all we got is water. And it still slices through very easily. You get a little bit of movement here and there, but it's very easy to counter. So if you live in those windy areas like we do, real easy motorcycle to get through. It's not like a slab-sided brick that catches the wind and shoves you into the other lane. And it's got enough heft and weight to not be moved all over the place too. It's just staying nice and balanced. You just kind of dip in a little bit here and there and you're good to go. So the mirrors are giving me excellent visibility right now. Downshifting is precise, just as precise as upshifting. My goodness gracious, this thing loves to accelerate for a little 400. Just put a smile on my face. Alrighty. I would say, I mean, if I'm going to use this bike, this will definitely be a great bike to just shoot around town with. Because it's just perfectly designed for that. It stays in the power band in the right areas for city speeds. And I promise you it has enough for the highway. We'll go take it out there in a moment. Very easily has enough for the highway. This just feels so much better, so much more refined than the 300. The 300, the transmission was great, but it was slightly notchy. The clutch had a little bit further out response than most would like. I mean, it just was a little bit imperfect here and there. And that's the thing, Kawasaki loves to be perfect. They want to perfect their motorcycles and be number one at every division they possibly can be. And I mean, who blames anybody for trying that? So Kawasaki the fastest growing segment right now is under 500cc or adventure bike. So, the 300 was number one, but I mean, everybody started making 300s. You had the CBR come out, the 300, the single, you had the R3 come out. You had all these other motorcycles start coming out to challenge the King, and the King was starting to get a little old, even though it's not an incredibly old motorcycle. So Kawasaki said, we can't have this. We're going to go a step further. It's just like when the 636R came out. I mean, everybody had a 600 liter or a 600cc class bike. You had Suzuki's Gixxer 600, you had the R6, you had all these bikes that were 600 class, the CBR 600RR, and Kawasaki had the Ninja, but it was a parallel twin, and the R6 was a 4, and others are parallel twins as well, but they were doing better. So Kawasaki went a step further. They went from 600 to 636, and that became their stable of sport bikes, getting into it. And I mean, who can blame them? It's been a very fantastic bike for them for years to come now. So the same thing happened here. While everybody went from 250, and then Kawasaki did that again with the 300, they stepped up and were like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this to the 300. And then everybody did the same thing. And now Kawasaki says, now hold on here. Everybody's caught us again. We're going to go another step further. And here comes the 400. And I'm happy they did. I mean, this is a great riding motorcycle. It's very easy to approach. It's lightweight. It's not an aggressive stance, but it is aggressive enough that you can fully tuck in on this bike and you're stable and you feel sporting just like you would on an R6, just like you would on a Gixxer 600. So it's not sport, but it is sporty enough that it is fun to mess with. I mean, I definitely like the way this thing rides. And like I said, the suspension, it's much better than it's not as softly sprung as the 300. It definitely has a tighter suspension. And going over these broken concrete panels, I mean, yes, it bounces, yes, it's stiff, but that's okay. Because this is a great little bike to run around town with. You're gonna get good fuel economy, and you're gonna have a great time on this bike to even take it outside the city, find your twisty roads, and have some fun with it with friends for a good long time to come. I'm doing this all with engine braking right now, and now I'm finally using the brakes. Now, I haven't talked much about the brakes just yet, because they just work. I mean, there's nothing to say about them because they're good brakes. Great little grabbers. And if you want to know where the friction zone is, right there. Just right there. So very, very quickly off the hand grip, you're going to run into it. So not even quite halfway through the travel, you're going to hit your friction zone and you're going to be able to shift very smoothly. Like I said, this is such a light clutch, just effortless clutch. I mean, this is incredible. And now we wait at a light, waiting for more action. I love the readout too. I mean, I'm in sunlight and I don't see anything that's a problem. I don't have any bad glare or anything. I can still read everything so far. I do have a little bit of a reflection back at me, but I can still read where we are in our speed, where we are on our trip, where we are on everything. We're good to go. Now these levers are not adjustable like some bikes, or most bikes are getting nowadays, but they're very easy to get to. They're not too far off or anything. You don't need a big hand to reach. Now, it's just a bike that I'm comfortable with already. I mean, it's just so easy to approach. So if you're a brand new rider, or if you're an experienced rider, I mean, this will help you cut your chops either way, because it's such a very responsive, easy to use bike that you'll be able to get it out to the track, drag a knee on it, take it home, and go grocery shopping the next day. So effortless, easy to ride. I'll go ahead and bump it up to 6th gear. I don't even know if I got there yet. So at 6th gear, you're literally just going under 4 grand RPMs, 40 miles an hour. It is bogged. It does not just accelerate right off the bat because you're in top gear, but you're getting great economy, and it's able to hold the speed just fine. I mean, if you come up on a hill, you're not going to have any difficulty whatsoever keeping your speed up to keep going. This is just such an easy motorcycle to approach. I mean, I gotta give it to Kawasaki. This is much better than the 300. It seems to deliver, I mean, of course it's a bigger engine, but the way it delivers its power is not all in the upper end like the 300. This one actually has a good mid-range to upper range power band. It just makes it so effortless to ride. Like I said, I'm doing this all engine braking right now, and now I gotta hit the brakes, and we're good. After riding a little longer, I found that there is some heat that definitely comes off of this motorcycle, but it's kind of interesting because it only comes out, it feels like, on the left side. Right now my right leg and everything is perfectly fine. The left leg is getting some heat on it, kind of at the lower part of my shin down to my foot. So I feel that coming through much more so than I do the right side. So I don't know if that's how the fan is ducted or how they got that done through the fairing, but that's definitely where most of the heat is coming from. But there's no other heat that really speak of, even though I've been getting out here and getting this thing revved up and moving. It's doing this quite well. Here in just a moment, we'll take it down the interstate for just about a mile or so, and then we'll have some fun with that as well. But this thing is just such a great little riding bike. I would say that, you know, this is just me and the sport bike configurations though. I would say that at a point though, you are going to feel kind of tired on this bike. The way it sits, because it is a little bit more aggressive than your everyday bike. So in about an hour, hour and a half, you're going to be pretty much well done for a rest. I've only been on the bike for probably 10-15 minutes right now, and I'm already starting to kind of feel a little cramped up, especially, I know I've got a lot of stop and go and that doesn't help, but on the right side I don't really move very often because I just do 1 foot lands, and the knees kind of feeling a little bit like, I need to move, kind of get this little stretch out there, and that way I can keep on riding. But I mean, that's about natural for these kind of bikes though. That's fairly normal. So when you're a new rider, you're especially going to get 30 minutes, an hour at best to fill this bike out, and then you're going to be kind of tired of it and kind of ready for a break pretty quickly. And I can attest to that. When I had my 300, I had that same issue. I took it out for well over 2-hour ride, 2.5 hour, almost 3 hours actually. And by the time I was done with it, I was sick of it, man. I wanted to get off of it. And this bike feels like it would do the same thing just because of the way it sits, but that's because I come from cruisers, not because I come from sport bikes. Anybody from a sport bike will find this bike to be remarkably comfortable. Yeah, she does fine. She does very good. She can hold the highway, and there's no vibrations all the way to the 11,000, almost 12,000 red line. It levels its way out when it's flung. I mean, it just likes that. So sitting here at 77 miles an hour, 75, 77, you're looking at about 8,000 RPMs in 5th gear. You get her into 6th gear, you'll be looking about 7,200 or so when you're cruising down the highway. So you're right in the middle of the power band for this bike. It'll be really easy to take care of and have fun and get the power out of it you need for passing. And overall, man, this is a well-rounded machine. It'd be great if you're a first-time rider, especially if you're getting into sport bikes. It's great if you're a first-time racer that's looking for a motorcycle to help train you on the track. So you don't have to go out and buy a 636 or an R6 or any of those bikes. You can start with this one, and this one will help boost your confidence like crazy because it's just so simple and easy to use. The chassis is phenomenal. The suspension is phenomenal. I mean, this bike just feels great to do anything you want to with, and it, I mean, it gets up to speed just fine. I mean, I didn't realize I was getting up to there, but it's just, I mean, this bike just so easy to flick, so just stable and easy to ride. Perfect bike to start, perfect bike to grow, perfect bike that when you do move up to your big bike to keep in your garage to remember how you started and have a good time for a long time to come. At any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this is the 2018 Ninja 400. We shall catch you on the next review.